the rest of the houses together.
All right.
Except,
Call to order the December meeting of the local planning agency. Could I have a roll call, please?
Steve Coates,
Sam Kincaid.
James McPherson.
Todd Nguyen, Rob Rennie,
Jamie Seifert.
Stand for pledge, please.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
yeah.
And could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Motion to move to approve the agenda.
Motion carries 6-0. And a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes of November 6th, 2025.
Rennie seconds.
Motion carries 6-0. And are any public comments not on tonight's agenda? All right, nothing heard. Usual hearings.
This is number 6.1, a request for the variance to reduce the rear setback of the lot at 342 Okaloosa Road Northeast. And if this is your case and you're here for that, if you could please stand right now. And Amy too as well. Do all y'all swear to tell the truth? If you raise your hand, do all y'all swear to tell the truth, full truth, nothing but the truth, so be God? Okay, you're on the road, so if you come up here, you'll be able to provide actual testimony.
Okay. Well, good evening. This request is for a variance at 342 Oak Road Northeast to reduce the rear setbacks to 12.2 feet. This home was built back in 1951 and it sits at an angle on a corner lot. It was purchased back in September of 2025 by Stephanie Smith and Pauline Ferguson. And back on October 2025, a building permit was submitted for garage enclosure, a new porch, roof, windows, doors. And since they are adding 2 feet to their garage area, they want to enclose that to make a master bath, master bed. And then also they want to add 2 feet to their front porch and put a porch cover over it. That would be changing the footprint of the property and the structure. The staff did not approve this based on the fact that the southwest rear setback is at 12.2 feet, and according to LDC 8.01.02A2, anything that is over the 10% encroachment is considered a detrimental nonconformity. And this encroachment of the rear setback is at 51.2%. So in November of 2025, the property owners requested a variance to allow for the continuation of their improvements. So based on LDC 8.02.02, no expansion can be made on the detrimental nonconformity and must be presented to the local planning agency and meet the following requirements. Is this an unusual or unique condition? The staff finds that while the overall shape and lot size is not unusual, the configuration of the angled house towards the corner of the lot does pose challenges not typically seen on normal lots in the city. Is this a hardship? Staff finds that this would result in a hardship. The house was built in 1951, and as previously stated, the angle of the house causes one corner of the structure to be closer than the allowed LDC requirements. As this causes a detrimental nonconformity, the owner is restricted from adding onto the house despite the alteration meeting the LDC requirements. Results created by the owner, staff finds that it is not created by the owner as the condition predates the current owners who purchased this property in September of 2025. Is there any special privileges? Staff finds that it will not provide special privileges that are improvements still met by the LDC standards. Is this the minimum necessary for a variance? The staff finds that the variance granted is the minimum necessary to afford the applicant reasonable use of their land, building, or structure. Is it compatible with the neighborhood? Staff finds that the proposed improvements fit existing residential character. And does it consist with the LDC and the comp plan? Staff finds that the proposal meets both the specified intentions of the LDC and the comp plan, and staff finds that the continued improvements to this house will continue to restore and rehabilitate the neighborhood. Staff finds that there is no negative impact on the health, public health, or safety. And with that, in addition to the required findings set forth in the 8.02.02 LPA, they need to also make the following findings when the variance is requested in an area of a flood hazard zone. And this property is in a shaded X flood zone, but there's no increased risk to the life property, no CRS impact, or no special flood hazards. And for a special shaded X flood zone, that is a 500-year floodplain, which basically equals 0.2% of an annual chance of flooding. Typically in that area, flood insurance is not mandatory, but it is encouraged and recommended. So with that, based on the findings of fact, staff recommends that the local planning agency approve the variance request for 342 Okaloosa Road Northeast to reduce the minimum rear yard setback to 12.2 feet. We've had something similar in the past to this, to where you could go in, I guess, 4 different directions. One, approval for the minimum rear setback reduction to 12.2 feet, or of course denying. Waive the expansion to the modification of the nonconformity, or of course denial of that.
All right, any discussion, questions? Would anybody else like to speak on this matter?
Thank you, Amy. My name is Stephanie Smith. I'm one of the owners, along with my spouse, Pauline Ferguson. We really just want to thank you for your time for reviewing this. We went over our plans and went over them, and we didn't want to, we don't have much of a backyard. So the only other option was to kind of expand in the front, and this would allow not only to keep the charm of the 1951 home, but also allow for a little bit of bringing it into the future. We're modernizing it and allowing us to get out of the rain, of course, but overall we didn't want to further detriment into any of the LDC code. So when we looked at it, we made sure that when we did expand into the front, we didn't get any closer to our front setback for that allowance as well. So with that being said, we want to thank you again, and
Can I ask one clarification question to Amy? Amy, there's only one variance being requested, right? If you posed it as 2.5, the only thing in the recommendation was the one.
It is for the setback.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Any more questions? Discussions? All right, I'll make a motion to approve the variance to reduce the setback to 12.2 feet.
second.
And is that based on all the criteria found in the LDC?
It is. All right.
Open any public comment?
Public comments? Public comments? No public comments. All right, and motion carries 6-0. All right, next is another variance.
This is 6.2, a request for variance at 34 Deal Avenue Northwest. And if you're here for this case, you can stand raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so that means when you're up here, you'll be providing testimony under oath.
All right.
All right. This variance is a request for 34 Deal Avenue Northwest. related to a driveway that was installed without a permit. The work increased the impervious surface to 67.2% and expanded the driveway to about 39 feet, both of which exceeds the limits allowed for the R1 zoning district. Back on May 15th, code enforcement discovered that the driveway was put in, and at that time, the property owner, Scott Brundias, who installed the new driveway, was informed that they would need to submit for a permit for after the fact. At that time, on May 19th, the permit had been submitted, but on June 17, 2025, the property owner was informed that the permit would not be approved due to the excessive impervious and ratio at that time of 67.2%, which the maximum for R1 is 50%. Also, the driveway design standards exceed the engineering manual maximum of 24 feet. And looking at the survey and the driveway width, it did increase it by 39 feet.
By 39 feet or to 39 feet?
To 39 feet, approximately 39 feet. And the standard is at 24 feet. So based on the criteria in LDC 8.02.02, you go through the criteria if it's a unique or unusual shape or size, and there is nothing unusual about this site. It's roughly the same dimensions as other properties in the area, and the staff finds that it is not unusual and that it does not meet the criteria. Hardship caused by the LDC requirements, staff finds that all R1 properties must meet the same impervious and driveway width limits, so staff finds that it does not meet, it has not been met. Conditions that were caused by the owner, the driveway installed without a permit, creating the issue, staff finds that it is not met. Is there any special privileges granted? This variance would allow 1,713 plus square feet extra impervious area, and so staff finds that it's not met. The minimum variance necessary, the applicant conducted the work without the permit, therefore there was no staff review, and without the lack of the review and the permit, which led to the impervious surface and driveway being in the excess that it is. Staff finds that this has not been met. Is it compatible with the neighborhood? Nearby homes do not have similar driveways this width, and the excessive impervious surface increases stormwater runoff, which does not meet the standards, so staff feels that it has not been met. Is it consistent with the intent of the LDC? The LDC aims for equity, consistency, and stormwater protection. This request has conflicts with those goals, so staff feels that it has not been met. Consistent with a comprehensive plan, it conflicts with policy D3.1.1, stormwater management and flood reduction. Staff feels that it has not been met. Is there any harm to the health and safety of the public? Not directly harmful, but it still does not meet the criteria. So again, staff feels that it has not been met. With the variance not meeting the required criteria in LDC 8.02.02, staff recommends that the local planning agency deny the variance requested for 34 Deal Avenue Northwest to allow an impervious surface area of 67.2% and driveway design standards to exceed the 24 feet in the R1 zoning district. This is also another one that was just similar to when they started out, their impervious surface was at 62.5% already before going up to the 67. Back in August of 22, there was an accessory structure put in at that time, and there was notes made in the application that it would be approved at the 62.5%, but that was under the impression that there was permeable pavers being put in, and that the request for an invoice and any paperwork and documentation proving that would need to be submitted, which we did not receive. So I'm going to go back and state that we would probably need the 62.5 impervious approved or denied, approval of the 67.2% or denied, of course, the increase of the impervious surface altogether, approval of a waiver for the paving specifications for the driveway, or of course a denial for the waiver for the driveway designs.
So I have a question. So I was reading this, the 24-foot width is for a two-car garage.
Mhm.
Looking at the house, they don't have a garage. I understand that there's now a garage in the backyard.
Yes.
Always,
So-
I'm sorry.
So for a house that doesn't have a garage, they're still held to the same standards
At 24 feet.
if they do have.
Now, if they just happen to have a three-car garage, that would go to a maximum of 36 foot. But unfortunately, it's the 24 foot.
And is that because of the impervious code?
This is through the engineering standards manual for, we have that available online, but that is under their standards.
Yeah, I was kind of lost because I was like, the code states specifically for a two-car garage, it's 24 feet. For a three-car garage, it's 36 feet. But it doesn't say anything for a house that doesn't have a garage, that it's still 24 feet.
Right. Tim, this is where I'm going to refer to you to see if you have any knowledge of that.
Yeah, I can just swear in.
Just look at the truth, whole truth, I'm curious what we got.
Tim Gibson, Growth Management Director for the city. I can pull it up in here for the engineering standards manual, but basically the standard is across all residential properties is 24 foot. Then you can get the exception up to the 36 foot. It's not really 24 foot for a two-car garage. If you got a one-car garage, you're limited to 12 foot. It's 24 foot is the standard
So it's
for
gotta be
all
a
residential,
garage.
regardless.
Oh, okay.
Then if you have the three-car garage facing the street, then you can go up to the 36 foot.
Gotcha.
So even if you had a three-car garage with like a side-facing garage, you'd still be limited to that 24 foot. So basically, all residentials are 24 foot unless you have that three-car front-facing garage. Okay?
And that's at the street.
Facing.
Like they wouldn't be able to go 24 to the street and fan out.
You can do that. So it's basically what our stuff, the way the engineering standard manual works is basically for, so the land development code discusses the development of the individual's property, and the engineering standard manual more points towards the public right-of-way and everything. So that 24-foot restriction is at the public right-of-way. So theoretically, if you took a 24-foot from the street up to your property line and then flared out, that would be allowed. But at the intersection of your property line and right-of-way, it would have to be no more than 24 foot there. And we have seen that before where people will do that.
So in theory, he could come off at his property line, just fan out.
Well, but that's just the driveway width, that doesn't address the
The
impervious.
Yeah.
Impervious, yeah.
I had a question. This is not pavers, this is poured.
It's worse than no report. We haven't received anything stating otherwise.
No, pavers,
It's all
pictures.
pavers.
It's
It is all
pavers, pictures. Yeah, there's the pictures show pavers. Any other questions for staff? All right, down.
So, and come up.
If you like.
Yes, it is all pavers.
Thank you. I didn't get that far.
Like I said, I tore down my garage in my backyard. Permitted all that, built the garage with mother-in-law's quarters. This all started of moving my mother-in-law in with us. She needed to go into assisted living. So we decided instead of putting her in assisted living, we were going to build a mother-in-law's quarters. And did that. And like I said, and then they approved what was that, 62%?
62.5.
62.5, that was approved. I thought the permit would extend through the driveway. I did not pull a permit on purpose or anything, like I said, to deceive or anything. Then as building it, she's on the walker, so she takes her out the front door. We didn't have nothing coming out of our front door where she could get on the walker, so that's why my original driveway that I replaced, because when I had to bring the sewer in, I had to come down the side of my house, go across my original driveway and cut it out to tie into the sewer, because you only can have one, it's got to tie into your existing. And my existing driveway, at that time when I cut through it, that was there, was at approximately 34 foot. So I only added 4, maybe 5 foot to it, which would have been coming out of my house because that's where she needed to park. Like I said, I got an RV, I know it's not excusing me, but I got an RV, I got 4 vehicles, you know, trailer and all that, you know what I mean? I was just trying to make it to where she could come out of her house with her walker and stay on, you know what I mean, where she's not going across grass.
And just see on page 45 of the packet has a picture of the house. It'd be 45 of the PDF, 44. It's number 44, but it's 45.
Questions?
Is this, I don't know if I can ask this, but if this gets denied, is it going to cause you a hardship?
Yep, yep.
You have to replace your pavers with some pervious pavers instead of your impervious pavers.
Well, I mean, I don't even think it's possible for me to do that because the price is about quadruple. You already know the price of a paver is way higher than the concrete is. And like I said, and I can tell you that the pavers that I got in there are definitely not concrete. They definitely, the water seeps through into them, you know. It just doesn't run off like concrete does. You know, there's no doubt about that, you know. But the price of an impervious pavers would cost me approximately probably $40,000 to do that. And I don't have that money. I mean, it's as simple as that.
So you didn't put any, are the pavers increased in front of the house, moving towards
Yeah, it's right in
grass?
front of my front door. Where the front door is where I went over. All the rest was already existing concrete.
All the rest was there.
And approximately 4 foot, somewhere in that area is what I added to the driveway of the existing driveway.
So for staff, this was already at 62, and that was already approved.
It was approved
2.5.
pending him turning in some,
Paperwork and
Paperwork
documents stating
documenting.
that they were permeable pavers, which
I did
never
not-
received that.
I do not remember or have knowledge of that. I do not. I just know I was approved is what I thought at the 62.
So if you took some of those pavers away, you wouldn't meet the front door, is that correct?
Yes, and she wouldn't be able to come out the front door, you know, to go to her doctor's appointments or anything like that with her walker.
We're dealing with two things here. The percentage increase and 39 feet also.
Yes, correct.
Now, what if you was to cut like a strip in that, making half of the sidewalk to the front door?
I guess that would be up to you. We would still need I would have to do the calculations again to see where that would bring.
Well, I mean, I know it
I
wouldn't
mean,
really
but
affect the percentage. I know it wouldn't affect
Right,
that.
well,
but
right now,
would that
he's over
count as
he's
a
over it
driveway?
at this point. Let's say he didn't put in the driveway, he's over it at this point, at 62.5.
Right, I'm not talking about the 62%, I'm just talking about the 39 feet in the front. What if you cut a strip in there, now you've got a driveway at 34, whatever, the 28, whatever it is.
And that's still
and the
going to
rest
be
of it
over the
is a-
standard. That'll
is
still
a
be over the standard of
sidewalk.
24.
So it's not a driveway, but a sidewalk.
I can answer your question.
I mean, do I?
Excuse me, sir. I can answer your question. You can do that. You can figure out a way tonight to, because first off, you're going to have to prove anyway. It sounds like staff's saying the 62.5%, because that was
Right.
never actually formally done to turn the paperwork in allegedly. So at a minimum, you're going to do that tonight.
Right.
If you don't want to give him the additional 5%, but want to make him kind of draw it out a little bit so his mother-in-law can still get out the front door, make her way to the car, but it doesn't go all the way. He could reduce the size of that driveway down.
Yeah, that's right.
Creatively, is that what you're saying?
Right, yeah, that's just, I was just thinking of that.
But I was at the existing, like I said, I've already had a driveway existing there at 34 feet. So I gotta shrink my driveway by 10 feet from what, I mean, I would've kept the concrete.
Well, you wouldn't
I
really need
wouldn't even have done any of that.
Theoretically, you wouldn't be decreasing it because you're just saying this part of it isn't a driveway anymore, this part of it is a sidewalk. That's all, I was just looking at some solution here.
Is there anything in the records of the house that shows the limit of the driveway at 34 feet,
At
35 feet?
34?
My original survey would,
Original driveway?
The picture above, the picture above it will show you.
would I, yeah.
No, I see the picture, but I mean,
We should have a-
they're saying no, he's saying yes.
So the property appraiser's website, you can go to it and pull up the aerial. I have it right now, but there's no
Yeah, I
way.
see there, there's the 3 cars or 2 cars and the RV. But there's no way that we can
So
say,
this is
yeah,
the
that's
front
31
door.
feet.
This is,
Ma'am.
no, this is the front.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
So if you go on our GIS, I just did it on my iPad here, we can actually measure out on there based on the satellite imagery on there, and just measuring it on here, again, this is not survey grade or anything like that, but just looking at our GIS, when I measured it, it came out about 29 feet wide. The original concrete driveway that was there, about 29 feet.
And Tim, that would be that right there.
That is correct.
That's this one.
So, I mean, I can show the board members if you want or whatever, but yeah, it's just through our GIS. You could just measure on there.
So we're approving potentially 3 things. 62 and a half, 67.2.
If you go, if you decide you want to do the 67, there's no reason to take a vote on the 62 because you can just go straight to 67. But if you don't want to give them 67, but you do want to give them something, you need at least to approve the 62. And then, of course, there's the other thing about the permeability.
I mean, he had the chance to have the 62 approved and he didn't turn in the proper paperwork.
Well, I thought it was under the original permit because he knew that when I submitted it that I was gonna have to cut through the driveway. You know, and like I said, I had to do a 5 foot, 4 foot cut to, you know what I mean?
Is
To
it
get to,
in the permits, when the permit was approved, was it written in there that he must show?
Yes. That was back in August,
22?
Tim's just gonna,
yeah, I'm sorry, August 23rd of 2022 is when that was sent to him about him being over the impervious and that he needed to submit the documentation.
Has this ever been before, in front of us before?
This one, no, not to my knowledge.
Let me just read that comment.
I did earlier.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And Amy, do you have the actual communication?
Yes, would you like me to read?
That needs to be entered into the record since y'all are relying on it.
I read that earlier, but I will read it again.
Well, it also needs to be passed around so they can see it too.
Oh, okay.
Get that,
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
actual document. If there's a permit, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
It's from the original permit for the accessory structure.
This portion, right?
And he'll have to have a chance to look at it too after that.
Absolutely.
So this work was done in 2022.
well, the original 62.5, like
22. Has it been in one?
62.5.
This is what you're reviewing right now, is the section right here.
And this is the one that was signed by both parties?
Yes, this was the permit back from August of 2022. It was sent out via our software, and said regarding the approval and then what was required for that approval.
So I'm just asking,
Company insurance.
did he sign this saying that he read that comment, or was this signed and then he's,
There was no signature, during that period. You get those comments whenever you're submitted with your building permit at that time to move forward. Oh, I'm sorry.
How is this approved? The way this is worded, it says, per the LDC, property is allowed a maximum of 50%, right, we know that. The property is currently at 62, so long as this new structure does not increase your impervious surface above 62, this is approved. So what this is saying is that this was approved already at 62.
So it gets a little complicated and there's a little whatever. So before this and before the new accessory structure was built there was another building back there already. They were over their impervious before any of the new work on the property had been done. Right. And that's what they were saying. So when they submitted that application in there with those documents, it was going to take them above whatever that 62.5 is what they originally started at. And sort of like you're approved at the 62.5. If you're going to go over that, you have to, and they had indicated that they were going to use the pervious paper in the back for some of the additional areas, like the walkway where the two-story garage is. There was an accessory structure there. However, the walkway around behind it was not all the way to the fence. When they were going to increase it, they said they were going to use pervious pavers there. So they started out coming in on day one with a 62.5% impervious. And so that would be what we consider to be an existing nonconformity, which is why whenever that permit was issued, it's like you're good to stay at that 62.5% because when you came in day one, you were already at that 62.5%. So that's really considered to be an existing nonconformity. Technically, we don't need the variance for that because it is an existing nonconformity. Since we're here today already, we figured why not go ahead and just formalize it, and that way they have documentation in the future. If this ever comes up again, if there's ever a question with it, it's just formally documented. Since we were here, we figured we'd go ahead and do that. But that really is an existing nonconformity at the 62.5%. Does that?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I understand.
But again, if y'all approve the 67.5, it moves the need to do the 62. Okay, I'll get back to that. Thank you. And make sure you get a chance.
So just out of curiosity, if they were to go back to the same width at the intersection and did a fan out,
That takes care of one.
is it right?
It doesn't take care of the 67.
But I mean, I get that part. I'm just trying to figure out what can be done. Out loud. I'm just thinking out loud here.
I understand.
is there a way to remove the pavers behind the garage to help bring down the impervious?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if that would help bring down.
How much are we talking?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what else, like where the pool is, on the side yard right there, there's a concrete that comes out. You see where the concrete comes down the side of the house be at the bottom of the page there? I can remove that concrete right there too. Partial of that, and I can put in, rock, stone, or whatever is pervious, you know what I mean, to do that. So I can do that footage in behind the garage. I don't know how much I'm talking there. You're talking I got an 8-foot variance, 7.5-foot variance there, or off the fence, not variance, off the fence, whatever. Got 7.5-foot by, I don't know, whatever the length of that is. So the garage is 20, so it'd be 30 foot. So that would be, we do math, would be 7.5 times 30 foot.
Yeah, so if he removes this and removes that,
Okay.
does that bring him to the 62.5, which still doesn't make. So that tackles problem number one. And then problem number two is the 30 minutes.
And I think he needs to problems. We need to
Really?
either approve or deny the variance and let him figure out how to bring it into
Remove
compliance.
those two and then do a fan out, that might be enough. But I'm not a surveyor.
And his mother-in-law, I mean, honestly, his mother-in-law doesn't need 37 feet, or however wide that driveway is, to
Well,
walk
then I can-
from her back thing to her car.
I
Like
can
that's,
pull up four within 2 blocks of my house of driveways as big as mine. I was almost gonna bring pictures of them, you know what I mean, but I don't wanna be that guy, but there's 4 right in my neighborhood that are as wide as mine, if not wider, you know?
If you want, and I'm not sure which driveway you're looking at, but this is, you guys for the whole area. So if you want, I don't know which one you're talking about, but
Well, I can tell you, the Home Depot, one right by Home Depot, it's a yellow house.
I'd be willing to
I
approve.
don't know where in that road.
this is right here.
Right there.
I mean, I would deny the 67.5
Agreed.
impervious. That's,
Well, I guess, once he's done presenting, before y'all make a motion, once he's finished.
Go ahead, we can have one.
You're done, sir?
Yeah, we're done.
I mean, I make a motion,
Ma'am, if you want to testify, we can put you under oath, you can stand. So-
I was just gonna say that we paid for all that extra drainage too. I don't know if they are aware we did that. Which helps.
Yeah, that's
with the
true
water.
too, under all of the papers that I did put in the backyard, I did run drainage on all that, you know,
Paid
so.
extra.
Why don't you stand? Raise your hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, come up here so we can actually hear what you're saying, ma'am. Thank you.
I was just stating that we were thinking ahead also because of the pavers, and we did pay the company extra, quite a lot extra, to install all extra drainage all through there to allow any water that runs off to drain properly as well.
Did you submit that to the city per the permit that was previously?
well, they didn't have a permit at first.
Well, that was back in 2022.
Yeah, that was in the backyard with that, with them papers.
I'm still, Jeff, I'm kind of stuck here between words mean things, right? So they've got a permit that says approved, and then it's got the conditions that follow. How do we get past that?
Wasn't that an after the fact?
Are you
The
saying,
driveway was after,
Driveway was-
Yeah.
because I didn't have the money when I did that, I didn't have enough money to do
You
the
didn't pull a
driveway.
permit when you put the driveway in.
No, I did not.
We kind of thought it went under the other one.
so are you operating,
Across the driveway, you can see,
pardon me, sir, there's a question from a board member. Oh, can you restate your question again?
So he had to tear up part of his driveway to put the mother-in-law suite in. He corrected that, which was approved. The mother-in-law suite was approved by the permit. And in that, while he was fixing it, he's like, well, let me just add this extra 10 feet, we'll just call it. But the wording in the permit is very vague on what was approved.
So here's the thing, if y'all can either approve tonight the 62.5 or 67.5, which would incorporate the 62.5, or if you deny everything altogether, code enforcement will open up a case against them, then at that point, proceed forward. If they, in their discretion, think the permit does not fit the 62.5%.
There is already a case for
I
it.
was gonna say.
There is,
There is a code case for it.
okay, so that answers, so code, if y'all do deny, then the code case will proceed forward.
Okay.
I make a motion to, more discussion?
And what does the code case proceed entail?
Since I don't even know about it, that means it probably has not even come before the magistrate yet. I only learned about the cases once they're in front of the magistrate. So that means most likely the code, I'm saying most likely, speculation, whoever the investigator is in that case, they're all very reasonable individuals. They probably got word of this. They probably maybe suggested he go down and apply for variance. They sometimes do that. And so it's probably in the early stages to where they're waiting to see what happens on this. And then if it gets denied, they'll go in front of the magistrate. And point out that there was no permit ever issued for this, and the magistrate will give him a certain amount of time to bring his property into compliance, which would be effectively, it sounds like if you were to take staff's argument on the code case, probably remove more than the 62, go under the 62.5. They would probably say, what's the code case standard, Tim? Do you know what they're saying it needs to be reduced to?
When it's
Well,
really the
well,
code-
the maximum input.
Well, 61.5 with the conditions though, correct? Is that the, well, what's the code saying in the code case, I guess? Is,
So the code case, I just pulled it up on here real quick, so sorry. But really the code case is for the work without a permit. That's what they, our code enforcement, they drive around the neighborhoods, that's what they do. And when they see brand new work, they've got their iPad and they can pull up and look and see, okay, was there a permit for this here? And that's what they will typically cite the owners with. If there's work ongoing, they will give them a stop work order and tell them they need to go ahead and go get a permit.
Tim, is that the
start
additional
up a
5%?
formal case at that point in time. They just don't proceed forward with the case. They give the property owners an opportunity to go in, apply for the permit. In this case, they did. The individual came in and applied for the permit because code had cited them and said, hey, you need to go get a permit for this. But now, as long as the property owners are working with the city and trying to rectify these things, code case will not move forward on that sort of stuff. So basically, right now, typically, especially if it's going to involve a variance, as long as the property owners are moving forward with that variance in a timely manner, then code case will just sit back and wait until it proceeds out. So basically,
Tim,
depending on the
his question, though, getting back to what his question was.
Okay.
His question was, what are they citing for? So he says the unpermitted work, is that the additional 5% that took it from
This driveway,
62.5?
yes.
So that's what the code case
That's
is
correct.
about.
So
Well,
you
a
won't
point of
go back.
clarification, the 5% in and of itself, or the 39 feet versus 24 feet?
So the code case is simply for doing work without a permit. The code enforcement doesn't get involved in 39 feet versus 24 feet percentages of impervious. They just cite that there's work being done without a permit, and then that goes through the process to either they get the permit, which would mean that they've complied with all the requirements, or they don't get the permit, and then the code case moves forward. And at that point, they'd work with the magistrate on what they would need to do to solve that at that point in time. So really, code enforcement doesn't get into too much anyways on like impervious amounts or stuff like that. They simply cite the work being done without a permit.
Which is probably because they're not going to issue the permit due to those two reasons.
Correct.
But we're speculating at that point because we don't know what the individual of the code case would say.
Okay, I have two questions, if I may. First, is it permissible for the staff to determine that the drainage system that was put in on the pool area and the prior garage that was built, and the paperwork wasn't submitted, reduces the current impervious rate to another number? We don't know what the effect of that work is on the 67%. Is that permissible? Is that something that the staff would do based on the diagrams provided by either the owner or the construction company, that the imperviousness changes from what we believe it is to a new number? Is that part of the process?
In theory, yes. And that's where kind of on that note on that permit was, please provide your documentation that it's going to be pervious pavers. So now if it's just really just normal everyday pavers, and then because typically when you do the pavers, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the paperwork, it's not just the pavers sitting on dirt. They have to dig down, they're putting in the gravel and all the other stuff. So just, I don't know what exactly they did, but even if they do that and they just put regular concrete pavers, that would not be considered pervious. If they have some documentation and that the way that it was installed is in fact pervious, then yes, that would be considered to be pervious areas, and we would subtract those areas that were done that way from their pervious restrictor
So,
requirements.
what I'm getting from what he's saying is, if let's say I have this big square, and it's all impervious, but in the middle of it, I put a drainage pipe that takes it right into sewer system.
Yes.
That doesn't matter?
That does not, no. The way our code is written is it's 50% simple. And typically, I mean, and part of the reason is for this is, I mean, the water, unless you're tied in and you happen to have a city stormwater pipe running through your property that you can no kidding tie that drain into, the water's still going somewhere. And it's not being taken off your property through any kind of stormwater system. You know, it may drain to another part of your property, but that water's still going to drain somewhere, unless it's going into one of our actual stormwater pipes.
So can we table this?
My second
until after-
question, if I might.
Right.
Some city ordinances allow structures to exist, but not to transfer the property to a subsequent owner without redressing the non-compliance to the building code. I don't know what the city structure is here. So,
City, sorry, you mean city code, you mean?
right, the city code.
Okay, I mean, y'all can do whatever condition you want. You can say the condition doesn't run with the land, if that's how you feel on the variance here today, because y'all can put all sorts of conditions.
Well, it wasn't, not that we were putting a condition, just that I'm aware of other cities, if they find a violation and it's not a safety hazard, it doesn't interfere with whatever, it's allowed to exist, but the property can't be transferred to non-family members down the road without correcting whatever the issue is.
That's
Or whatever.
that's a detrimental nonconformity,
Right.
or a permissible nonconformity. That already exists under the code, I believe, and that would be if you fall within the permissible nonconformity and they transfer title typically, correct, Tim?
Correct, it would be considered an existing nonconformity. And impervious amounts in excess of whatever allowed there is by definition in our code a benign nonconformity. So like the earlier case you heard where it was a detrimental nonconformity and you can't expand or any of those kinds of things, this would be considered a benign nonconformity. But yeah, 5 years down the road, I mean a year down the road at this point, if they wanted to sell it, it would be considered at that point to be an existing nonconformity and would be able to continue into perpetuity per our code.
So the new owners
right now, they require them to revert.
Right, I know that the new owners would have the same problem. So what I'm trying to ascertain is, let's say we deny this and the owner says, I'm not going to change anything there is. The consequence to the owner is that down the road they can't sell the property to a third party without either correcting it at the time of sale, or the new owner has to correct it prior to the issuance of a CO to occupy the residence pending the sale. Do I understand that that's how it works?
Well, no, I mean, then you're getting into the variables of a title company might flag it, or the new owners might not care. You know, the new owners might buy it.
Well, other jurisdictions prevent the sale because part of the sale is a CO.
We can't do that.
Okay, I'm just asking. I'm aware of other ways that...
What could and probably would happen in this case is
Right.
if you deny the variance and the property owner said, I don't care, I'm leaving it, at that point the code case would move forward. And if the special magistrate at that point made the decision that yes, I want to start running fines on this, then that would put a lien on the property for whatever those fine amounts are. So at that point in the future, should he want to sell the property, that lien would have to be satisfied.
Okay, that's what
Our city codes do allow for certain things, like if he's going to sell a property and the new owner is going to bring it into compliance, sometimes our city council can waive certain fees or reduce the fees and stuff like that. But the lien would be put on the property based off of the judgment of the special magistrate at that point in time. It wouldn't prohibit the sale, it would just have a lien on there for those fine amounts.
Am I under the understanding, though, that 62.5 is approved as long as he brings in his paperwork that you're asking for?
Really, the 62.5 is an existing non-conformity at this point. It's approved. Paperwork or no paperwork. It's the way that was documented in there. It appears to be that, you know, they were already at that. It's been several years, and we look at a lot of projects. So I vaguely recall looking at this many years ago. But there was already a lot of development on that property. So yeah, I mean, it was already over when it came in.
You can't take that away.
Correct.
At this point.
Yeah, we would not even want to take that away or even consider that at this point. We would never do that.
So we could approve the 67.2 pending he bring documentation about the impervious pavers in the backyard, which would potentially bring down the impervious
Right.
whatever, right?
Well, for,
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you approve the variance at 67.2,
Then, yeah.
well, then they don't
It's
have to
approved.
really bring
No.
anything.
Yeah.
because you're
Here's the thing,
approving that.
Mr. Coates, what you can do, since I know y'all are concerned about the additional 5%, you could say he's required to change enough of the pavers on there to bring it down to 5%. And it could be in the back, anywhere. He gets dealer's choice on that because he's going to hire the contractor to do it. That gives him some flexibility. But y'all could give him the condition as he has to change enough of the pavers out there, either by removing them or replacing them with pervious pavers. And it could be in the back, if y'all want it to be in the back, but I'm not sure the map works out in the back or not. So that's why I'm saying,
It's less than
I like
five.
that.
It's just, it's less than five, but that's not, but you're not really approving it then. You're denying it.
no.
you're approving with conditions.
Contingency.
Y'all have done that before.
Sure.
Right, but but if he brings it down to 65, it's not approved, 67.
62 point.
I mean, sorry, if he brings it
He has the
down to
option.
62.
He has the option to either replace it with pervious pavers or just to take them out. If he's like, that's too expensive, I don't want to put any pavers in the backyard, so I want to remove 2% and replace their 3%. He gets us mix and match.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what he does, but if he doesn't, then there's no,
But it's
I think I got what you're
67.
saying.
It's
What you
67.
could do, and I think this is going to answer your question, is deny the variance to the 67, approve the variance to 62.5, and approve the variance for the driveway width. That would give him full flexibility on he can keep the driveway, he's got to remove it elsewhere, whatever, if that's what you're looking to do.
that's kind of what I'm saying.
So yeah, you would technically be denying the 67 variance
Right.
and approving the 62 variance. That would just force him to.
But you don't have to approve the 62 because it's already approved.
Right.
Correct.
So all we need is
But
the
the
width.
39 still is.
Right, the 39 is still in play, yeah, so.
Yes.
Okay.
And the width is the only thing that you
With this, yeah.
approve at, because the 62.5 doesn't have to be in the motion, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the width,
I would
what else?
recommend that the board possibly do a formal variance approval at the 62.5, just because that it formalizes it. Like I said, it's an existing nonconformity.
There were three parts.
Technically doesn't need it. I would recommend it.
there were three parts. The width, 62.5, and I'm sorry, I didn't hear the other.
67.
No, 67, ignore the 67, Tim's just asking that you recognize the 62.5 along with the 39, assuming that you don't want to grant the 67.
And the width,
That's the 39 feet.
that's the 39 feet,
I
okay.
mean, and that's up to you guys on how you want to do that. You could
I
approve
thought you
that to
mentioned
be
something else
more
in
than the
there and I
24,
didn't hear.
whatever the original width was, you could approve the 39. You could require it to go down to 24 technically, because once it's removed, it's no longer a nonconformity. So you can make it go to the 24, you make them reduce it down to what it originally was, or approve the 39 foot. Any of those are in there.
Right, so if I got this right,
I know.
a motion to approve the 62.5% impervious
Ratio.
with the 39-foot,
Are you just saying this or are you making one now?
no, I'm making, I'm talking through my head in this.
Oh, okay.
So approve the 62.5 with the 39-foot driveway, but you've got to bring down your pervious,
Well, we don't,
You're denying the 67.5.
Yeah.
yes,
denying the
Yes.
67.5.
yes.
So your motion is to approve the variance for the 39-foot driveway and deny the 67, the request for 67 point whatever feet, but also recognize that he does have an impervious ratio of 62.5%.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, so is that the motion?
That's the official
Yes, the
motion.
yeah.
Okay. I like it.
Did you understand that,
That's
sir?
I believe so.
Are you sure?
I'm not for sure what I need to do.
You gotta pull up 5% of it,
Yeah, we gotta
5% of your impervious has to come up.
Let's come on.
Or have a drainage system that meets the requirements to lower the impervious to 62.5%.
Which he says I can't, but if I don't tie into the sewer system, then it's not, there's nothing I can do to do that, but to remove.
If that's what they approve, we'll sit down and we'll talk about it and give you your options on there. Because you could either take some out of the, maybe shrink the driveway a little bit, take some out of the back, maybe, like you said, it's $40,000 to replace them all with pervious, maybe you replace some with pervious. There's all sorts of, there's a bunch of options that we know.
I mean, I already got sunk in, like, I mean, I don't know if you, I mean, I got a lot of money sunk in this project. You know what I mean? I'm like $250,000 on this project. You know, I mean.
That's why we always pull permits. We know
Well,
what we're doing.
I didn't do anything, I did not try to do anything illegal, I did not. You know, I did not try to do anything deceiving.
Okay,
Just gives you guidelines to work by.
I did not know, because like I said, my driveway, when I did it, I did not, and on the first part, I did not mean to go that extra, and then we started talking about, you know, her getting out with the chair, and then of course, the amount of vehicles I have, you know, I understand it's not, you know, the amount of vehicles probably does not have a, you know, a say-so in what I, you know, I can do with it, but that's just where my thinking was, you know what I mean?
I just wanted to make sure that you understood what we were denying and approving,
Yes, sir.
And trying to work.
trying to help you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Now, there's not been a vote yet, though.
We
Right.
got to say
So you also have to vote and then debate and offer public comment too before you actually vote.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow we already,
Was that the motion? Nice.
well, somebody already seconded, so we're on the vote now.
Public comments.
Public comments.
Any comments? Other comments from the public? Okay. So that is 6-0. And that is, I guess, you sign that. because that's- Motion carries.
I think just the next item.
Next item, what is the next item? Oh, the election, I was a little confused, I thought it was over a year.
So I guess I'll cover it real quick. So what happened, I guess, last month, I was not in possession of these rules that y'all are going to look at tonight, but an alternate cannot actually be the chairman of the board because it has to be a voting member. And you can have a chairman who's only going to sometimes be able to be the chairman if he's alternate. So unfortunately, we sold Mr. Rainey a little short by allowing him to get nominated in the first place without catching it. And so
I thought we moved up to,
I thought so too, but apparently, according to Mrs. Barnes, I'm still an alternate.
oh,
Right,
yeah.
that's correct.
oh.
And so for that reason, y'all do have options. One, someone could agree to switch with him and let him be a permanent, or y'all can pick a new chairman. So
But Mr. Coates is fine.
Mr.
Oh,
Coates,
so all he's gotta do is,
you're not an alternate, right?
No.
Mr. Coates, yeah, he's fine as the
So
vice
we could
chair.
move him up to president,
Correct.
okay? Can I make that motion to start with?
well, I was just, well, if he says what he just said, so all he has to do is become a permanent member?
Yeah.
Well, I could switch with him then and become an alternate, since I'm rolling off anyway, right?
And that's fine, and that can be done, and there would be no need to make a motion changing the chairman, because he wouldn't be the chairman until next year anyway, and so you could just agree to be an alternate member starting in 2026 No motion needed. I think you can just work it. I think the council actually has to approve of
Yeah,
that.
council will have to approve that, so I'll present that at the December 16th meeting. Should be no problems with that.
All right. I was supposed to see
Thank
that.
you, James.
So flip-flopping with Mr. Rainey and Mr. Pearson, so.
That was way easier.
There we go. All right. Director reports?
The only thing we have is possibly a special meeting in January, since January 1st is our typical day. We're looking at maybe the 8th or the 15th to hold a special meeting. We had one of our ordinance that was brought in last time that went to council, and council sent it back for some changes and modifications, so that'll have to come back to you. So.
You have it yet?
It's January, then we'll come back to you.
Have it yet?
Do I have it yet? No. I mean, we already went through it, but the modifications have not been completed yet. Yeah. So we have the option of possibly the 8th or 15th of January.
Would the 15th give you more time to work the issue after the new year and the holidays?
Yes, it would,
I will be out of town.
but you're,
There is one item that came before you, the certified recovery residence item that came through in November.
Right.
City Council did not approve that item. They wanted us to rework some stuff. We're working with Mr. Burns to clarify some things in there and bring that back to them. Technically, per state statute, it had to be approved by the end of this year. We're obviously not going to make that, but it does need to come back through the LPA and then go to 2 City Council meetings. If it pushes to the 15th, that's going to be after the first City Council meeting of the year. So ideally, if we could do it on that 8th meeting, that would let us meet both of those. Ultimately, if it does push that way and we do the second or the third day of the month and then we just push it into February, it's not a major deal. That's just why it's there.
This was last month's thing? This was in November?
Well, I have another meeting I need to be at,
Yes.
but this will take, this takes.
It's really whatever you guys want.
I will be out.
I can meet on the 8th.
I could be on the 8th.
I can do it.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
I can't.
I'm returning 6th.
The 8th it is. I'll just forego the other meeting.
I'll see you guys prepared.
All right, board member reports.
No.
All right.
Happy holidays.
I guess
Merry Christmas.
before y'all stop, since it wasn't on the agenda, you passed these out tonight, did you want to address maybe y'all could take this home with you tonight and at the next meeting, maybe have maybe some red lines, how y'all want to maybe add or change these procedures though, because these are your rules and regulations. If y'all see anything that needs to be changed in your opinion, this would be a good time to do it.
Can I ask, is there a listing somewhere that shows permanent and alternate members? Like,
Sure, we keep a list of it. I can get that for you. The 2 alternate members right now are Mr. Rennie and Mr. Cannon. Those are the last 2 that was appointed. I think
Cannon, I thought Janet Wilson was an alternate.
She moved
she
up.
moved up. She's the one that filled the vacant spot. And the way we move them up is whoever the most senior alternate person is the one who's asked, do you want to fill the position? And that's how it was Janet, because she was appointed before Mr. Rennie as an alternate. So that's how that works out. And in reviewing this rules and regs, there's some things in it that I think you may need to go over with the board that maybe need some attention. I don't attend these meetings, so I was not really familiar with what's in place as far as how the alternates sit on the board when they come up, but those details are in these rules. So I think we need to kind of review what the rules are so we're abiding by what it says that we're going to do. It talks about the alternate member not even being a non-voting member. But then why do you have an alternate if the alternate can't vote? So those are things I think that maybe do need
It needs to be cleaned up. I know the intent was when they drafted this probably was to say, if you're an alternate, you show up and you're sitting up here, you're not allowed to vote that night as an alternate, but you're here, but the way it reads is you're never allowed to vote.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think it needs some cleanup.
But they have voted. There's only been one time that I came when I was an alternate, that there wasn't a spot for me to sit and vote. And I sat in the audience. Every other time that I've come, that I've been an alternate, I have sat and voted.
Right.
Yeah,
So I
I'm
don't
sure we've
know
done that.
wait a minute, I'm
Same thing with me, I voted most of the time.
So if you're an alternate sitting up here, you can't vote?
That's the way.
If you're, all
Wait,
right, so let me clarify this. If there's 7 of all the regular members are here, you're not supposed to be voting as an alternate member.
Then why are you sitting up here?
No, that's never happened where we voted more, but it's happened where we've had less than 7 and an alternate was here and it voted.
Then you can vote then. You're not alternate yet.
But that isn't what it says.
You're not, no, he's correct. You
I'll
got
vote for the alternate, but that's not what it says. It says right there. After a meeting is called to order, roll call is taken. An absent board member, seat an alternate, alternate shall sit and be allowed to participate as a non-voting member. So then they wouldn't even meet to make the quorum then, if that was the case.
That's what I was wondering, the intent was for, if you don't have a quorum, then the alternate can vote. I don't know what the intent was, but I read it just like we did. It says an alternate's not allowed to vote, so why would you?
How would it make a quorum?
that.
What's that?
That's a silly rule, though. I think it needs to be
The intent.
crossed out, yeah.
The intent of this, because I'm the one who did this update on there, the intent was basically that, yes, if all of the board members are here, the primary board members are here, then cool. The alternates are more than welcome to be here. They're welcome to discuss in the discussion on the motions and all that sort of stuff. They just wouldn't vote. But if one of y'all was out and there's one alternate here, they would go up there, and at that point, they're a primary member, they're a voting member. I think the intent on that wording was that as an alternate, you're a non-voting member, but once you're seated in that seat, because of a vacancy, you are now a voting member. It's
But
kind of what the intent was.
there's 7 of us up here, and an alternate sits in the 8th spot.
They're not voting.
They're not
But
voting.
that contradicts what,
Yes,
Right.
and that's
I think
something that I
that's-
think we have done is let all the people
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point in time, and if that's what y'all want, we can update it.
It
But yeah,
needs to be
that's,
updated.
okay.
So how many board members do we have and how many alternates?
7 and 2.
Yes.
7 and 2.
So y'all can have 9 folks up here, and so 2 would be non-voting. If all 7 regular members were here, the 2 alternates could participate,
But not.
but not vote. Yeah.
So do we want to put that as an agenda item at the next?
Yeah, I think that's, I guess that's section 6, item B is what the confusion was.
So that's one thing we never can change. I was thinking maybe let them figure out what else they want to change those, since they're kind of seeing this fresh.
I think you just take out non-voting and that it's clear. I mean, you've addressed it, it's okay, you can only have 7, you're all here, the 2 alternates, you come up here, or, I'm sorry, we're short one, so the person comes up here, but they're not participating as a voting member.
Yes.
As long as we're still at 7 or under.
Right.
But that's why it needs to
And we
be
only need 4 for a quorum?
Correct.
Yeah, and, something about, I don't see anything about the board in here, but.
So do you want us to bring our comments to the next meeting, and then there'll be some kind of coalescence?
I think that would be, and I think one more meeting operating under these rules, we're not going to totally lose our minds, So I think if y'all, bring your changes. I'd like y'all to have some time to
Could we
think
have
about
this
it.
as a Word document, or is it forever a PDF? Would you want me to convert it from PDF to Word on my own?
Let us look, we can convert what we have probably easily, so.
Okay, and then we can do track changes?
Sure.
All right, I think that might just help us.
Any more board member reports?
I just want to clarify that, track changes and stuff like that, that's fine if you want to do that. We've got to be very clear though that, you can communicate with other people on, hey, here's my recommended changes and stuff like that. That's all got to be through staff and then discussed here, just due to sunshine laws and stuff like that. So you can do the track changes for what you want to see changed, and then share that with staff.
Okay.
But that's it.
It still would be helpful.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Email this out.
Now, according to this, the chair and the vice chair could do track changes between themselves, because they're allowed to communicate before a board meeting?
No,
As I understand
does that say that in here?
it does.
It does.
We gotta take that out.
Glad I asked.
Yeah, it's under 2E. That's the very last one.
You need a little thumb and a stick on with it and just
Yeah,
raise
that's
it.
E, item E, number 2, yep. Discussing all my, this is my phone, sorry.
I read that.
Now you gotta buy a new phone.
I think the intent of that may
Not
have been
yet.
to say that when you're serving as the chair, during the meeting, you can express your opinions of the discussion. That's,
I think that's probably gotta be the intent, 'cause that's clear.
Well, we need that during the,
But we gotta cut that out.
during the meeting.
not outside.
All matters being presented.
Yes,
Or not.
all matters being presented during the meeting or something.
Yes.
It is.
Yes, if y'all catch anything else like that, let us know too. I'll be looking at us.
Okay.
We're gonna